couple of mayoral candidates and stuff, so
Sorry?
I have links to a couple of mayoral candidates, so this should be like an interesting debate.
Mayoral candidates?
Yes, I do. So I'm happy to speak on behalf of a couple of those.
Which constitutes?
Which one do we want to talk about? Are we more interested in Brexit, or are we more interested in...
I'm interested
Learn about Brexit. Seriously.
Or are we more interested in Khan Bayalev, who's actually an Azeri
voted
Muslim himself? So
I'm actually more interested in our, existential questions. Because if existential questions.
Let's go for that then.
Let's go for that.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Are we rolling?
yeah, we are. Are we in the camera?
Do you want us to wear masks, by the way? I'm happy to wear masks.
Who's
Up to
speaking?
you.
Just the two of you.
It'll just be the two of you.
No, I can speak to both of them. No.
Okay, would you
Just the three of us.
do you want us to wear
You can
masks?
keep it.
I'm happy to wear masks if you want me
I'm
to.
happy either way.
Are you happy with the way?
I'm happy
I
either
won't
way.
then, because
Yeah.
I think it's a bit easier to communicate.
Yeah. So when we say existential questions, what we're referring to some fundamental questions that human beings will inevitably ask at some point of their life when they realize, what are they doing here? Where do they come from? What's going to happen after death, right? So, from your perspective, you're a young, intelligent gentleman. What do you consider about the existence? Do you see yourself someone who's been just here with a purpose, created by a creator for a reason, or you're still looking into it? What's your perspective, rather than me telling you what to believe in?
No, of course. So, I personally describe myself as an atheist. And I suppose there's a number of reasons why I do that. And I personally would look for proof in something. So, for me, the idea of being brought to this world and this planet for a purpose doesn't really add up for me personally. And I think I'm just on this planet, and I just am. It's just a thing that I'm here to do, and I just exist out of circumstance, coincidence perhaps. But this is my sort of atheist kind of point of view. So I don't believe that I'm here for a purpose at all. I just believe that I'm here out of matter of fact more than anything else.
What's your name, by the way?
Oh, my name's Alex, by the way.
Alex, I'm Mansour. It's nice meeting you.
It's lovely to meet you
And
as
what's
well.
your name?
Also Alex, by the way.
Yes, sorry, very confusing. I apologise for
Okay,
that.
Alex in purple and Alex in what colour is that? Brown.
I guess it's sort of like it is brown, isn't it?
Orange.
It's like it's an orangey brown. It's like a
Orange
rust.
brown.
Should we call it a rust colour? I think.
Okay. Sure. It's interesting, both of your names. Do you share the same view?
I can take off the mask maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say 100%, but it's like if it comes back to your questions of like what I generally think about what comes after, I think in the end, I guess we don't really know. But what I think is important is that we just stay curious, and if this kind of curiosity at the same time comes with kindness, I'm happy with whatever these people here talk about. As soon as these two things are still there, it's just somewhat tolerant. Everybody's just trying to find their own ways, right? And at the same time, if they don't try to destroy the other people's opinion or thinking or position somehow, then it's just beautiful that we all just try to find our own personal ways to that enlightenment, to that answer.
So when it comes to the question that I asked Alex in purple, do you consider it is imaginable that in the distant past there was absolute nothingness as opposed to something as we are now?
That is a very complex question, and I don't think we as humans who exist in 2021 now, I don't think we can really answer that. And I think for us to try and pretend to answer that is kind of incorrect, because we know what happened maybe a few years ago because we were alive, but we don't know what happened 400 years ago. We can read books and we can read things. We don't know what happened 4,000 years ago. So for me to concretely say there was something or there was nothing is probably a mistake. Do I believe there was nothing? Well, my human brain can't comprehend nothing because we've always had something. So my answer to this question is actually really long and convoluted in the sense that I can't really tell you the answer to that because I wasn't alive when there was nothing. But of course, if there was nothing, I wouldn't be alive. I can't answer the question, really.
Shall I give you my take on this?
Absolutely, I'm really interested to hear this, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Now your turn.
Of course. So when we talk about this conceptual understanding of nothing, this is not nothing as in what some of the scientists are talking about, like Professor Lawrence Krauss, where there's some kind of virtual fluctuation, quantum fluctuation. Nothing I'm talking about is the philosophical nothing, in which this absence of everything. Now, if we understand at least conceptually what this is, that means this nothingness doesn't have anything within it to do anything, to create anything, to produce anything, to manufacture anything, to bring about existence of anything else, because simply it's the absence of everything. In general, in our physics, that we understand, to do something you need energy. The nothing that I'm referring to doesn't possess energy, doesn't have energy, doesn't borrow energy, because there's nothing there. It was simply nothing at that point. So in a state like this, nothingness will result in nothingness all the time. There will never be something at all, ever. Why? To bring into something, because something, when we say something, for example, you and I, we are matter and energy, interconvertible, right? Yeah, E equals mc squared. So you know this equation very well. So we are matter and energy. This something could not come about by nothing when it was nothingness whatsoever, because we're talking about energy when we're talking about matter. It can't just pop out from nothingness. Popping out means who's doing the popping out? Who's driving that popping out into existence, or popping into existence? From what? So if something exists today, it is not imaginable in a logical, rational sense that there was at one point in the distant past, however distant that was, there was absolute nothingness. Even the atheist philosophers will agree to that point, because you can't get something from nothing. It simply cannot happen. This doesn't make any sense. So if this is the case, that we cannot imagine a situation, a time in inverted commas, right? Because time itself is debatable whether it began or it was always there, and which theory of time you follow. So was there in the distant past absolute nothingness? We will say no, there has to be always something. The very reason is something exists now. We are here now, there has to be always something in the past. So there will always be, no matter how far you go back, there will be eternally something in existence. That is something we can come into this understanding, because there cannot be absolute nothingness. And as a Muslim, I do find that the Quran actually mentions this point for us to reflect on it. It says, "Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in." Were they created from nothingness? And I know that, and you know that, for example, even our existence as a biological creation, there has to be our parents who brought us into existence. So we cannot come from absolute nothingness. This cosmos, with its all substance within it, whether you want to call it just pure energy in its primordial form, it cannot be a result of absolute nothingness at one point. So at least, I think fairly, we can agree, in general terms, there has to be always something in the past.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to really deep philosophical questions right now.
I do apologize, because that's what I warned you about. Existential questions.
No. You did.
Does lead to this very deep, reflective questions.
This is true, and I mean, I'm not a person who really thinks deep philosophical questions. So when you warned me about this, I thought, let's go ahead. Let's see what happens. If you don't mind, let me sort of frame this in sort of like a more sort of current sense. And I really liked your analogy there when you said we don't come from nothing. As in us personally, right? I told you a few minutes ago that I came from my mother and father who decided to procreate, just like you did. Every one of us here, we all came from a mother and father who decided to procreate. Again, in the modern world, we do have different relationships with different types of people, but human procreation itself obviously does come from female and male parts. But it's an interesting sort of topic you bring up, and it's not something that I can fathom and try and create an answer to right now for you, because I'm not a philosopher. I'm just a Londoner, right? And I can't sort of say, oh yes, there was definitely something in the past. And
being a philosopher and Londoner is not mutually exclusive.
No, that's certainly not. I mean, I'm sure there's loads of philosophers back in the past. But I'd like to think of things like sort of more currently. In our current world that we live in, nothing comes from nothing. And you're right in that sense. Everything has to come from something. And how do we sort of improve people's lives in the current world? Let's take philosophy into like the more current sense. And how do we turn, a lot of people in London right now are very unhappy with their lives for a number of reasons. Like there's a lot of poverty, there's also a lot of inequality, but there's also at the same time there's a lot of mental issues, and COVID has obviously made our lives different, let's say that. And personally, I didn't enjoy lockdown. I know a lot of people say they loved lockdown. I personally hated it. But it's not just that. I'm perhaps not the most impoverished person in the world, right? How do we take people who feel like they have nothing and bring them so they have something? And you're right, nobody has nothing. People have got skills, people have got things that they can help themselves with. So we really need to enable people, I think. So taking your philosophical question about existence and existential crisis in general, you're right. Nothing can't create something. We all have something, and each one of us today, no matter how we are, whether we're millionaires or whether we earn £2 a day, we all have something, and we just need a bit of help to make it something else and make it something better. And so for me personally, while I'm not answering your question directly because I can't really answer it, I think everybody has something, and we just need to unlock their potential to make it everything.
I actually have a question for you, with your philosophy, your standpoint that we do not 100% agree to, but that's probably fine. But what does that make out of you? With this maybe belief? What do you play? What's your role in that? What does that make you, knowing or believing in this? It's how do you approach people, life? So, how do you see that?
Very intelligent question, and a meaningful one.
Why
do we even ask, and why do we even want to inquire about this question? It's to do with, ourselves and how we feel, how we relate to this cosmos.
Yeah.
Because if I know for sure that I am here, created by a creator for a reason, and I do not fulfill that purpose, then what's going to be my outcome? Just imagine, you go to an examination, not knowing what the subject matter is being examined, and you sit there, and then you think, yeah, I'm going to triumph in anything that comes, and then you find out this is a question on cancer chemotherapy. Are you into cancer field?
Not really, no.
Right. So would you be able to answer the questions and then be successful? And very unlikely.
Not on the terms
very
of the
unlikely.
judge, so.
Very unlikely. So imagine the frustration that you will feel, the discomfort that you'll feel, the lack of tranquility and contentment in your heart you will feel in that exam, that you feel that, okay, I am now at a loss. I'm not going to be successful. Yeah. Success in this life is not only knowing who's the best girlfriend or wife or a partner, what is the best job, what is the best restaurant, what's the best thing to wear. Success in this life also means being successful in your purpose in this life. So many of us, we think about death sometimes, not all the time. But if you were to concentrate on the death alone, you realize there is no guarantee when we're going to die. We can die young, or we can live a little bit longer in our old age. There is no guarantee when we're going to die. We can die young, or we can live a little bit longer in our old age. So if we die, and then we realize that there was a purpose that we are supposed to fulfill, and it's now too late because death signals the journey to another phase in which there's no point turning back again to do that what you haven't done, what you're supposed to do. How would you feel? You would not feel tranquility in your heart, even thinking about death and being dead in that feeling. So knowing these questions about our very purpose of life not only gives you the tranquility, peace and comfort in your heart, but it then gives you an outlook to live in this life, and you'll find that outlook is one of some working in the harmony of this universe. Because the Creator did not create this universe where everyone can just go and plunder and loot and terrorize and oppress people. The Creator wants us to live in harmony and to live in peace and in tranquility, but also fulfill the rights of God as well as the rights of creation. Just like the creation has rights over us, God, our Creator, it's probably too early to bring the term God. The creator of this cosmos has a right over us, who brought us into this existence. So it has a serious ramification in terms of how we see everything around us. For example, if I know that knowing that I am a creation of a creator with certain obligations and prohibitions, I cannot wrong you, even though I had the ability to wrong you. I cannot commit oppression and injustice on you, even though I might have the power to do so. Like if I was a Brazilian drug lord, I can just go and kill everyone I like, and that's some people used to do. But as a Muslim, as a worshipper of God, or as a servant of God, as a creation of God, I know there are things that I have to do,
respect the existence.
that I have to fulfill the rights of God and the rights of the creation and live my life accordingly. So fulfill the rights of God and the rights of the creation and live my life accordingly. So things that I just mentioned, even though there may be intuitively in your hearts that you should not kill, that you should not cheat, that you should not lie, that you should not oppress, but what happens? The people who are removed from the belief in a creator, it doesn't stop them from abusing what they know to be true. For example, how many times have you heard in the workplace or in your academic institutions, wherever you're studying, for example, if you are, that people lie constantly, consistently? I can tell you that my colleagues might say, a phone rings and say, tell them I'm not here. They might not realize that they're asking me to lie outright. Okay? People have to make it into their habit. But lying is what? Why am I going to lie? I mean, to bring about loss on someone else? Because the person who they wanted some gain, some profit, something, that's why they wanted to speak to you, and then you're saying the person is not here. So when we have our understanding of our position here in this cosmos, it molds our life in a particular mold. And that mold, if you think about from the Islamic perspective, it brings about the better of the people. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, which we consider to be the last of all the guides that God has sent, Creator has sent, he said he has been raised to perfect the nobility of character. Not that we don't know what a noble character is, but he came to perfect it. So his mission was to bring people back to the worship of God and have this relationship between the people so that people understand what they're here for. Because if we consider ourselves that this life is the end all, that's it, nothing else. Think about it. If this was our perspective, this is the only life, why am I restricted by these laws of this society? Restricting my freedom, restricting my happiness, restricting my desires. Can I go, I'm not going to say it now personally now. Can someone who feels that this is their only life, what's stopping them going to rape someone to fulfill their desires, sexual desires? What's stopping someone to rob someone of their, the best prized, most, recent sports car or something along which is very valuable? What's stopping them? Because they want to be happy. So what's stopping people from being an anarchist? That I don't want to believe in your law and somehow be surrendering and submit to the law of the state. I want to live my life, what I think is best for me. Why is the society stopping me from having cannabis, from hearing, from all these drugs which recreationally gives me pleasure, gives me happiness? If you think about it, if this was the outlook of a person who believes that this life is all there is, why would there be any restrictions placed on a person? These people should fight with all their might, with all their means against this. But people don't do that. People surrender to the laws of societies, laws of the land, and so on.
I mean, the reason why we surrender ourselves, as you say, to laws and society is because we know that we're all humans, right? And we all don't want suffering. We don't like suffering. We don't want to suffer ourselves, and we know to not suffer ourselves, we need to bind together as a society. Let me turn this political for a moment. We know we've got the mayoral elections coming up soon. We've got the elections to the London Assembly, and it's big in the news right now. And also what's big in the news is the lying. You brought up lying a few moments ago, and how actually in the workplace we are trained to lie, but oh yeah, I'm not here right now, or I'm out in this job. I can't take your call when you just don't want to take a difficult call. We've all done it. I'll admit to it. We've made white lies every now and again. But there's a line to those white lies, and then there's a line that is unacceptable to cross. And for example, our current politicians, I think, are breaking that line right now. Boris Johnson, particularly, who's the current Prime Minister of the UK, he's lying to us on a regular basis. And you may think his refurbishment of his recent flat, it's just a small flat, it's just refurbishment, it's just 50, 100,000 pounds, how many thousands of pounds it is, it's 200,000. Okay, well, it's 200,000 pounds. It's a small amount of money. We know for myself, it's certainly not a small amount of money, but it's part of a big picture, right? And our politicians right now are lying to us serially. That they are serial liars, and there's something really unacceptable about that, and it is against our moral principles, I think, personally. So
where do you think the moral principle comes from?
The moral principle comes from us being humans, and because of that, us as humans, irregardless of what religion we are, or irregardless of what we believe in, we believe ourselves that we're humans as part of a society. And the reason why I'm not stabbing you right now to steal your microphone, which is because I'm a decent person and I know that's wrong. There's no consequence. I could, go and run, right? Okay, we don't do that because we're humans. And I'm not a religious person, and I'm not doing that because I believe that God is going to punish me. I don't believe there's any going to be religious spirits that are going to harm my afterlife. I don't steal your microphone and stab you and run away because I believe that's wrong.
But do you fulfill the most essential rights of God, the reason why He created you? Because you talk about politics, you talk about how the mayors come and go, they change, and which would be the best mayor for London, for example. But I want to just bring back again to this existential questions. If there is a creator, and there's reasons to believe there's a creator, and we just talked about how there has to be a necessarily thing that has to always exist. So whether this is matter or energy, something has to always exist. If we were to ponder a little bit further, what is the nature of that something that exists all the time, that brought about us with our intelligence on this planet Earth?
So I don't believe there is a person who brought us to this planet Earth. So I know the idea that there's somebody who brought us here, it doesn't exist for me. For me, it's all about what's happening around us right now. And again, I want to talk about society again. Like, we are a group of people and we live the world we live in. Nobody put me here. I came here by choice. You came here by choice. You came here because you believe you're doing the right thing. I came here out of curiosity, actually. We stumbled, me and my friend Alex here stumbled across Speaker's Corner just out of curiosity. I don't believe that I'm fulfilling a creator's plan or vision because I don't believe there is a creator.
Yeah, the question.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we're completely different and alien people. I think we're all humans at the end of the day, and we all believe in similar things. And this is why I'm going to be very blunt now, and I'm going to say, look, when the elections are coming up, and you should all vote for Kam Balayev, who is actually is a Muslim himself. He's standing for the Renew Party, and he's trying to actually bring connections across people that wouldn't normally agree. We personally don't necessarily have...
As a Muslim candidate, is he going to bring about the laws from Islam in the Parliament to be implemented in the British society?
He is not going to support Sharia law. He's very much for freedom. And you talked about freedom earlier on.
So there's a contradiction in terms of that, because if you're a Muslim, if you're a believer in Islam, and then you want God's law not to be implemented, but someone else's law who are deficient in every single way from the knowledge and wisdom of God. So I want to just bring Alex in here on these questions about the existential questions that we're discussing. having a common understanding that there is something that exists always, what are the ways we can find out about the nature of this something?
Yeah, this is exactly what I mentioned earlier. Like this kind of eternal thing, whatever that is. I think it's like this continuity somehow. Like this, I think nobody can question that. At the same time, nobody can really put that into a certain like box or something. Like I think everybody has its own understanding what that is, and like most of all, like as I mentioned earlier, like if you stay curious, if you stay kind, and most of all, whatever you do to kind of like contribute to this continuity has to come from something that is like, in my opinion, like nothing else than like it's not empathy, but it's like stronger than that. It's like love or something. Like you have this continuity, and you have two decisions. You can either be part of it, contribute, or just leave it and go and die and just don't do anything to it. But because it is continuous, because this is just this internal thing that goes on and on, I think it's certainly the more enjoyable path to go to contribute to something to it. And if this continuity can only exist if you keep on creating things, if you keep on producing things, if you keep on making something new, and this starts with something that is, in my opinion, love. Like there's no other reason why you would keep on doing stuff.
Okay.
And this is where it's like the common ground is, and this is like, you can call this continuity like a god or something, or you can call that even your job. Like if you love your job for a specific reason, that's fine, but you have this one thing that kind of keeps on, like this is the reason why you keep doing that. That's fine.
Let me give you my take on this, how we can use certain tools that at our disposal to understand the nature of that something which always exists. Because something always existing is mind-boggling, something always there. Imagine, always there. And this something has been the cause of the subsequent things to come. Because we are here because of what this something that always exists has brought about here. So if I gave you a particular piece of equipment like this camera over there, you haven't personally seen the maker of this camera. You haven't seen whether, because as you can see, it's been actually covered by a particular camera cover, right? Yep. Suppose you don't have any knowledge about how iPhones are made, because it's actually an iPhone, right? With the three lenses.
The three lenses, yeah, we all know that.
Suppose you didn't know about it.
I actually don't. Yeah, okay.
But if I told you this particular piece of equipment, it can record speech and picture at the same time, motion picture at the same time as sound, and replay back, and you can see yourself recorded, the conversation that we had later on, you would say this particular piece of work has behind it intelligence, who brought all these pieces together using knowledge of physics, mathematics, and a lot of other associated branch of knowledge,
Yep.
to bring about a device which comes together in this piece to do this job. So you will attribute a will, someone or some group of people or a company, whatever, the will intended to bring about this piece with this particular function that it's doing. A will. You would also attribute behind this there is intelligence and wisdom. Knowledge, intelligence and wisdom, which was put into place because you and I, if I were to ask you, look, I am not an electrical engineer, okay? I'm not a mathematician either, neither am I a physicist. I cannot just take raw materials from planet Earth, sit down on my particular office, and then bring about this phone, right? I can't do that, I know that. It requires a lot of intelligence, knowledge, and wisdom to bring about this phone. So we can attribute behind this particular object. What is behind is whatever it is, possessor of intelligence, possessor. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me finish.
I need to interrupt here because.
Can I finish my point?
You're
You can interrupt.
comparing an iPhone to yourself.
No. Can I make my point
not
and
quite
then?
the same
No.
thing.
Hold on. We are now getting there somewhere, right? That's why you're seeing where I'm going there. So at least what I'm saying, I am attributing on this particular piece something or someone possesses knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, will, as well as the capability or energy, has something there to bring about something. Just by merely observing this particular piece. So when we observe the cosmos, our reality all around us, and we want to equate how did our reality come to the state it is in now compared to something that always existed, we can postulate reasonably and rationally that behind our cosmos as it stands now, there has to be a possessor of will or intention, knowledge and wisdom, as well as possessors of energy. So that something, eventually, if it's the ultimate something in the distant past, has to be a possessor of these attributes. That's how we can come about knowing, by looking at the reality. Do you have anything to say? Then I'll go to Alex.
So before I do this, we've got to get a train in about 10 minutes. Can you make this really quick before we do this? I'll let you have the last word, actually.
The point is, like, I think we cannot allow ourselves to exclude options. And we have to stay curious, so to find out what actually the answer is. And it's maybe a path an answer we'll never get, but I think the search for the answer is quite exciting. So.
Yeah, but do you agree? We do have the tools. We do have the tools. What we need is the intention behind the tools to use it. For example, you might not be interested right now to consider these existential questions because you're busy with your exam, your life, your work, your studies, your interests in politics, and so on and so forth. What I'm saying is there are priorities at stake. We have to prioritize what's the most important first for us, and then we do according to our priority. In any workplace, when I have, say, 5 jobs to do, I don't just go and start with number 1. Because number 1 may be the least one that's needed right now. It may have a deadline for 2 months. And number 5, number 5 may be the one that is needed now, tomorrow. So we always have to prioritize. When it comes to our life and our death, and our reality, and our relation to us and the cosmos, I think you and I both need to consider the priority is not what we think is politics there, how we can better the society, or how we can better find a good educational establishment to continue our education, or get a better job, or change to a better job. But there has to be something deeper than that. Myself, I'm here. Why? Where did I come from? What am I doing? Where am I going? Once we have this as a priority, then everything will fit into this, and then you will see how life becomes meaningful to live. Currently, you understand that life we should live according to this tolerance and understanding and respect. But once you realize and internalize this feeling that you are here by the reason and cause of a creator for a purpose, you will feel much better in your tranquility in your heart.
Thank you very much. On that note, we really have to go and get a train. But thank you so much. It's been a really interesting discussion.
Likewise.
We're not necessarily agreeing, but actually I think we do have certain areas where we have common ground. We're humans at the end of the day. So thank you very much for that. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Likewise.
It was interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I also
thank you
never
so
did
much.
that. So.
Take care.
Nice.
Take care of yourself.
All the best.
Have a wonderful evening and enjoy the sun while you can.
See you later.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.